Welcome back, everyone. So now, in this lecture, we are looking into CSS. How can we use CSS, and what is CSS? What does CSS means, and how can you make use of CSS? And what is the benefit of using CSS? And if I will tell you, CSS is a cascading style sheet. That's what the CSS means, and CSS is like a painter. You know, if you make a new building and you add some little color, like painting color to it, it gives a very unique style. It beautifies it. That's what CSS do to your page, and also CSS can also be used to define the nature of how your document will display in the browser. And also it also defines the responsiveness of your document in your browser, because the way a document will display on a laptop screen is going to be different from the way a document should display on a phone screen and also on a tablet screen or a bigger screen. So CSS will help you to define how your document behave on different screen. So that about that. And if you are following this lecture from the beginning, from the HTML session, you know we've added this folder to our workspace, and added all this file there. So initially we work with view, so now we are working with style now. So it's inside this style now we're going to add our CSS file. And when we added the CSS file, we're going to connect the CSS file to this view, to the file that is inside this view, so that both of them can relate to each other and they can connect together. Okay, so now how can we add CSS to our document? So first thing I will do again is I will click on style and I will add a new file. I'll call it style.css. So now I have my style.css file here. I will come back to my view and I will select the view file, which is the index.html here, and I want to connect this index.html to my CSS file. So how am I going to do that? I'll come back to the head section, and in the head section I will add something to it. I had another tag to it, which is called the link tag. I will add a link tag to it, and in that link tag I will give it some little attributes. This one is called a style sheet. It's called a style sheet. It's double E. It's called a style sheet. And after that, give it how it can locate the file. I'm using 2 dots there because they are not in the same folder. So after that, I close it. So now my CSS is connected to my HTML file. So now one thing, before we do anything now, let's load this thing in the browser and let's see how this hello world will display in our browser. Let's see how it is displaying in our browser. Okay, now this is how the hello world display in our browser. It displays like this, hello world here. And now, so what we want to do to this file now is we want to use CSS now to reposition this file, this document here, to reposition it, to change the color, and also to increase the size. So 3 things we want to use CSS to do to this particular word here. So now let's dive into it. Let's go back to our text editor. Going back to our text editor, we go back to our style.css, and this is how you call a file from HTML in your CSS. And the file tag we are using here is h1. So we go back to our style.css and we call h1 curly brace. Then we say we want to do 3 things to it. First of all, we want to change the color, so we call it color, and let's give it the color of red. Okay, the second thing we want to do again is we want to change the size, which is going to be a font size, and we are using h1. The size is already big before, so let's use like 25 pixel. And the next thing is we want to change the position So initially it was aligned to the right and to the left. So now let's position it to the center. To the center. Now we position it to the center, and we don't need to refresh our page or reload it using a live server again, because we've already used a live server before. So meaning that everything we are doing here, the live server is supposed to be capturing it by default. The live server is supposed to be capturing it by default. We don't need to reload and reload and reload again. We just go back to our browser and we click, here is it. So this is how it is now. So if we reposition it from here to here, I will change the color from black to red, and the size was reduced. The font we gave to it reduces the size. I don't know if you noticed that. So let's change it to something like 50. So let's make it like 55. And when we make it like 55 now, you can see that the size is very, very big now. So the size is very, very big. So we've used CSS, and this is how we use CSS and HTML together. And this method of CSS we use here, this is called the external link method. This is called the external link method because we don't want to have our CSS file and our HTML file together in the same page. It's going to be very, very clumsy. We don't want that. We want a very clean page, and everything should be clean and cool together. So see you guys in the next video. Thank you.